more conservatives on here. I think this is going to get a lot of contention.
God, I'm not a
Let me
Topic
conservative.
guess,
is,
was the
Oh,
Empire right?
we hate you.
Fuck.
The Empire, right?
Hell yeah.
do you think?
I'm
do you
coming
think,
at you. What the
wait,
fuck?
wait, wait. Zen,
Fuck.
shut the fuck up. All right. Do you think America is the greatest country on earth? So,
Hell yeah.
Without a doubt.
Name
I
a better
think we're the
country.
least
Okay.
shitty country on earth. How about that?
Name
We're
a
not
better
the greatest
country.
country on earth.
I think
Nobody's
this
the
needs to
greatest
be
country on
modeled.
earth.
We
We're the
could
least
If I could
fucking
ask-
shitty.
We
The
could
least
be.
shitty
We're
means
not.
the,
Wiggle,
the
could
greatest.
one of you guys moderate it? I think this is going to be interesting.
I'll moderate it.
Wait,
I'll
I'm
moderate it. I can't be impartial in this conversation. I'll moderate it.
Okay,
Well,
I'm
name
gonna
a
use the
better
bathroom.
country.
Just somebody else answer.
I think
Actually,
we could
Hold
be.
on, Marks, you gotta name a better country than the U.S.
Sam,
Yeah.
I would really like you to actually espouse on that.
I can't. I've had too many friends buried in that flag. I'm gonna be totally biased. I don't want to.
No, I want you to be biased. I want you to argue that.
Oh god.
The
I don't wanna
bias is
argue
the
about it.
point.
Fine, I'll go first. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. But at the same time, it is the freest for the like. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, you know, there's a lot of freedoms that are taken from us. There's a lot of freedoms that are regulated. But when it comes down to like the nitty gritty, we are the freest country in the world. You know, there's a lot of people that want around America, and I say this all the time. They want to be communist or whatever. It's really cool. You can be communist in a free country, but try and be free in a communist country, right? I do have the freedom to own my firearm,
Based.
even as a felon. I do have the freedom to own other things other due to licensing. I have the freedom of speech. I can get on here and call Tiger a fucking nitwit piece of shit retard, and nobody's gonna fucking come down from the government and fucking do it. That was just an example, as well as
Based.
That was an example too.
He stopped fighting back. He
I
was
have
like,
the
it's
freedom
good.
of press. If I want to start a blog talking about whatever the fuck I want to talk about, as long as it is not about like child porn or you know, like glorifying rape or teaching that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Reddit had stuff like that for a while, and guess what happened? It got regulated by themselves. You can do that on the deep web, but ain't nobody controlling that shit.
We don't advocate for any of this. This is all fucked up and
No, but
gone.
you know, if I
In
have,
Minecraft.
if I want to sit here and start an entire blog on how much I hate the government cannot and will not come shut down my blog. I might end up on a watch list, but they won't take down the blog.
And
You know, like
can.
Alex Jones has been going on this for fucking 20 years, and he's still kicking. And you know, the CIA hasn't killed him. Although he's the best misinformation machine the CIA has. I think he's a plant. But you know, we have these
Exactly.
freedoms.
That's
Right?
so they could shut
No.
you down, but they'd let
I'm
him
here.
keep running.
I'm here as an American trans woman. I have the right to be trans. Nobody can take that from me. I have the right to
Damn
suck a
right.
dick. I have the right to fucking eat some carpet. Ain't nobody tell me who the fuck I can fuck, suck, or nut on. You know, and that's
yeah.
welcome to America, bitch. Licking assholes and sucking dicks since '85. But like nobody can take that right from me. The government might not like me getting married to someone of the same sex or this sex, but they're not going to tell me who I can and can't fuck.
Right.
And
And
you know, or
shouldn't.
write or
Ever.
music. I mean, there's so many music. You know, such.
I mean, if ass wasn't supposed to be eaten, they wouldn't put it between two buns.
That's right, sweetheart. You know,
Never go ATM.
but like
Never go ATM.
you have so many rights in this country, where in other countries, I mean, if you want to be Muslim here, you can be Muslim. We're not going to lock you up like the Chinese Communist Party and the Uyghurs. If you want to be Christian, we're going to give you some shit, but you can be Christian, even though you're kind of a bitch and a hypocrite most of the time. If you want to be Catholic, we're just going to call you kitty diddlers because, well, you're fucking kitty diddlers. But we're going to let you be Catholic. We're just going to call you kitty diddlers.
Damn.
If you want to be, like, you have the freedom of any religion to practice, you're just going to get shit for it, and that's somebody's right. That's their freedom of speech, being able to call you a hypocrite because you don't like some fucking Starbucks cup on Christmas because you're a bitch. And we have those freedoms. Having had the opportunity to be in other places, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, other such places that I can't say, Horn of Africa, where, you know, some places, if you have a Bible, you can have your, you know, family be locked up or killed. Thank you, Saddam and his crazy fucking kids. You know, where if you're gay, as we've seen numerous times, you get thrown off of fucking buildings. If you're trans in America, basically just Trump supporters don't like you, but everybody else is generally pretty cool. Which I don't
Yeah.
get.
Hey,
I
I'm a Trump supporter and I like you.
Yeah, but that's because you can't fight me in I have a bigger dick than you.
You wish, motherfucker.
Oh,
You can check it out if you
Get it,
subscribe to my other webpage for blank a month.
you can both like hop on my Discord and like throw up pictures that I'll compare and let you know.
Anyway,
Another one to collect.
Base.
that's the thing. There's many other countries where, say, what I do on OnlyFans or Twitter or anything, I could literally be put in jail for over a theocratic
Oh
government.
no! Stop.
Headdress off or whatever. You know, I just don't have the right here to suck a dick for money, and that kind of sucks because goddamn, I'd be rich.
God.
Hey,
Nevada.
I give the best head. Okay, what's gayer, sucking dick for 10 seconds?
Nevada. You could go to Nevada and do that.
That sucks. But like, I have all these freedoms that in other countries you don't. I can log onto the internet and watch Pornhub all fucking day if I want to. I can play Diablo 3 unedited with full skeleton models and WoW with full skeleton models. Do that in China? Nope.
Right?
You know, try.
Whoa, weird.
Yeah, did you remember that with
You
Blizzard
didn't.
and the editing for China?
You didn't know that, Zen?
Skeleton mod?
Yeah, you can't see the models. So the skeleton model in World of Warcraft is changed to something else in China.
Yep. True thing.
Okay, Zen, you know how the undead have skeletal fingers and WoW and the elbows and everything? They actually had to put flesh in that over those parts for it to be released in China.
And they had to unsexualize Sylvanas, which I would
All
really
right.
hate.
Wow.
Bring it,
Okay.
it comes down to
Let's
this.
turn this into a rant about why the
Anyway,
United
so-
States is not the greatest
Nah.
state in the
Name
however-
Yeah,
a
basically,
better
Samantha, we
However-
won the
Mark-
argument.
Oh, for
However-
fuck's sake! Shut up!
However, we also do have like the worst policing in the world next to fucking Somalia. I swear to God, it's that bad. Our police are fucking idiots. Our police are untrained. Our police are fucking weak and fat. Our police are fucking ultra violent. Our police have no ways to deal with anything outside of being scared little bitches and twitchy fingers on that trigger. They have no fucking proper trigger discipline. They have no discipline about being held to a higher fucking standard. And this kid with the fucking eyebrows up in the top left corner is gonna get hit with my fucking balls if he doesn't get that look off his face. Now, the police are fucking trash here. They have a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm not saying get rid of them, but they need work. We also have the worst tax system. We also have the worst income equality. We also have the worst, fattest, laziest population with horrible work ethic out of any country I know. Everybody's fat and lazy. Nobody has a good, decent
White
work ethic, which is why I don't hire Americans at my business.
It's because
But,
you're a
Tired of
racist.
our cops thinking they're
You're a
fucking
reverse
executioner.
racist, Samantha.
I
Pisses
am.
me off.
I'm proud of it. Yeah, but other than that, we're pretty cool.
Wait, how much you paying?
How much am I paying? What?
Yeah. How
we-
much you
we-
paying?
My
I'm
cashiers.
not white. How much you paying?
Cashiers take home between
You're
$20
non-American.
and $8 an hour
Name
to sell bread.
a better country.
Afghanistan.
That's Mark.
Dude, chat is lit up.
Name a better country. I know you're looking for some Scandinavian shit. You're all here like, oh,
Somebody needs
no,
to,
Okay,
somebody needs to
I'm
start
back.
dabbing somebody to shut up
I
in
mean,
chat.
I'm
Look.
back, and you guys aren't killing each other. I'm disappointed. Where are the Jack? Why aren't
Yeah.
you saying anything, Jack?
Well, I haven't had a chance
China.
To talk yet. But I mean, like, my basic argument is that there are a lot of different countries on Earth that have much higher standards of living, much higher general rates of happiness. And I generally think that while the United States is really, really great in a lot of ways, for example, I think that we have a phenomenal system that allows us to change over time. And I think that we should utilize that system to be able to make changes to our country that would make life better for people. Because we could actually do that. Like, if wages and productivity had kept track since 1970, the average salary in the United States would be over $100,000. So, like,
Right.
Mm.
there's a
That
lot.
globalization that you love on that shit.
Well, that I actually am not for globalization because globalization is a component of capitalism, and I'm a socialist. So,
So
I'm
you're
actually
broke.
against
Market.
globalism.
Big difference.
So, oh Jesus Christ!
Libertarian socialist.
It's amazing.
here.
It's just it amazes me of how many Americans want socialism, and I think Samantha nailed it. It's amazing how you can sit in a country where you have all the freedoms in the fucking world, and you want to change it into a type of society where you don't.
Well, what do you think
CTV?
socialism
What are
means?
you
Can
thinking?
Socialism is never,
Redneck,
ever
can you tell
fucking
me what
worked.
socialism is?
He even talks like Trump. Look at the hair side.
Can you tell me what you think socialism is?
Is that CTV?
No,
Where?
see,
What?
it's
What are you
not
talking
here.
about?
Redneck. Yo, let me do this Barney style for you, because I can speak to your brother in ways people can't. You know it. Most people that advocate for quote unquote socialism just want social adopted policies, like
They
social
want all
policies.
social policies.
Well-
that means higher taxes and government control of everything.
Here's
No.
advocating. Sorry, autism moment. For actual socialism, because socialism gets people killed worse than capitalism.
Well, actually, no. I
Bullshit.
do advocate for the United States to adopt the full socialist model, and this
Wow,
is
so you want to turn into Venezuela? Should just everybody leave the
Me
country?
too.
well.
I
So
want a
do
socialist
you
model.
want? I would love to lay out what my general views on
I
this are.
swear to God, if you want a socialist model that bad, I'll help you get a fucking plane ticket.
Will you let her fucking talk?
So, one of the things that there are two main components to socialism, right? The first component is worker control over the means of production. The second component is decommodification over significant portions of the economy. So, on the first front, I would advocate for a slow, lengthy shift towards worker co-ops. Which is something that we already have in the United States, by the way. Ocean Spray, for example, the cranberry juice company, generates about $2 billion a year. It's a worker co-op. They invented juice
Indeed.
boxes. If you've ever bought a juice box for your kids, you have a worker co-op to thank for that. It's been around for like 70, 80 years, something like that.
Are they the people that do them
So happy to hear you say
that apple juice,
Wonderful.
cran apple juice?
Yeah, they do a lot of
Wait,
cranberry
wait,
shit.
Wait,
They're
Jack,
good,
I gotta
though.
ask. How do you feel about Surly?
Surly?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm biased because I have some friends who work there.
So wait, let me understand this. You say that Ocean Spray is your model.
No, Ocean
That
Spray
is a
isn't my
capitalist-
model.
that
It's
is
an
a
example.
What, man? Come on.
It's a capitalist.
model or a example.
No, okay, let me explore. What
Yeah,
the fuck,
go for
people? Let me explore. So, that's a capitalist company, though, right? They sell goods,
Right.
make money,
Yeah.
and they pay those member growers
Mhm.
without any government interaction. They collectively decide to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's a co-op, right?
Yeah, a worker co-op.
So
Tyson
Chicken is a workers co-op. All the chicken places we eat in America are co-ops.
Well, so I need
All the
to,
major farms are already co-ops. So what are
Right.
you talking about?
So I need to clarify a little bit. So
Please do.
When I
They're market
advocate,
socialist, right?
yeah, I'm a market socialist. So I'm in favor of markets continuing to exist. I'm in favor of money still existing, and that is different from a lot of other forms of socialism. I admit that. But also, like, when I say worker co-op, what I mean is that everyone who's involved in the business has some degree of buy-in into the success of the business. So,
Now,
like,
can I ask if they
You're a
started as
stimulus.
Can I ask if they started as a worker co-op or they turned
Yes, I
into
did.
one?
I-
Because who puts up the initial capital to
Right.
become a co-op, and then also how
Why-
would that
why
how
is
would
that-
how would that
why
drive
does that
businesses to come
affect
here
the
and open
value of
businesses here?
well, so
How does that create new businesses here if one person's going to have to put all the capital, and if multiple people are going to put up the capital, why don't they just become a LLC?
So
and
this
then
is
do a share
this
corp?
is a whole lot of questions.
But
But like to
that was-
kind
that
of
was
try
like a
and
discount
answer some of
on
them,
the-
like, I think that we could come up with better systems because you're right. Right now, it's actually quite hard to set up a worker co-op. And yet, people in the United States tend to do them because it's more equitable for everyone who's involved. And typically, how worker co-ops start is a bunch of workers get together and they're like, hey, we would like to have a worker co-op. We would like to work in a place that distributes the wealth generated by the company more equitably among the people who work there. So you don't have like some rich asshole on the top taking all the profit.
So like nobody threw money at my business. I opened it myself. Is somebody gonna come try to take the means of my production?
No, so
Or
so
how would that
my
work out?
Yes.
so my proposal is actually one that Bernie Sanders has already put out there, and it's basically that if you ever in the future want to sell your company, you first have to make it an option for your workers to buy that company. for a fair
No,
price.
I'm being forced to do that by the government.
No, you're being forced to, for whatever price you were going to put it up for to a competitor. For example, you were going to sell to, I don't know, X company. You put it up for the same price to your workers,
for $1.
and your workers can collectively pitch in to buy it.
But I'm forced to offer it to them first.
Right.
What if I wanted to sell it to a family member? And did I still have to run it by the fucking workers first, or am I being forced to do that?
I'm not a legislative nut.
No,
maybe
no,
there are some
I'm
loopholes for family businesses.
So, but like, you got to understand that policy of forcing people to do that. What's going to drive new businesses to come to America and open up new businesses if we're going to be forced to do this? Most businesses in America want less government control.
Well, the issue is that most workers don't see any benefit from their business's success. For example, like a burger flipper at McDonald's doesn't really have any stake in whether the company's doing well or not.
That's a starting job. That is not a career
What if we
field.
Right,
paid
but
everybody based on productivity?
Yeah,
Thanks. Meritocracy's goat.
but
always a
what
job
if,
to be
what
had.
if
This
your
is
company
bullshit.
paid you, like for example, if Amazon paid its workers equitably for like the work it does, because Amazon can't function without those workers.
Yeah,
They do.
But what if we just paid Amazon paid Amazon employees based on their performance? What if we said, okay, you load or unload this many trucks, you scan in this many packages, you flip this many burgers, you sell this much worth of food?
Yeah, I agree. I
So-
think both are
You
progress.
have to look at it this way. You have to look at it this way. On a trip to Europe, I went into a McDonald's because it had like the dope ass vegetarian wrap that I love, and there was not a single worker up front, not a single human being. It was all robots and touchscreens. So what's to stop Amazon from saying, "Hey, fuck the employees, fuck a co-op, I'll just robot"?
Well, now you're
everything."
getting into
You're
like
right. It's a starter job.
Now
Why
you're
have
getting
it?
into like Andrew Yang
Can I-
territory,
well,
talking
can
about
I-
automation.
I would love to address all these things. A lot is getting thrown at me right here. So
Sorry, business owner to a socialist. I can't wrap my head
Sorry,
around.
no, I don't mean that to direct that specifically at you.
Yeah, but I actually have answers
if
for
you and I
a
get
lot
to
of
know
these
each other,
things.
like you're gonna find that I shit on both sides of the spectrum. So like,
It's okay. Well, so one of the findings is actually that a lot of the research that exists on worker co-ops right now indicates that they're actually more productive than traditional businesses. Because people
what I looked up.
because people
Define
have
productive, profitable or productive. Like,
productive as in they produce more wealth. This is
Okay.
why
Can you show the stats on that? Because I just
find
looked
it.
that up myself while you were talking about it.
Redneck, do you trust my economic takes?
I'll take it, Tiberius. What is it?
She's right.
Okay. No, I just didn't know. Anything that touches socialism. I think of all the people from socialist countries who flee to come here to something that apparently everybody thinks is a horrible
right,
place.
but
Can I
there
tell you
there
why
are
that
not
is?
people. Okay, hang on, Samantha. There are people fleeing from communist countries, not syndicalists, which is what she's suggesting.
Yeah, I was
Well-
just about to hit that.
well,
She's
so-
not a socialist, she's a syndicalist.
Well, no.
No,
So
that makes
here's the thing. There's a lot of confusion over what socialism and communism mean, and largely it's a result of Stalin. Because when Stalin took power in 19 whatever, I don't remember off the top of my head. Sorry.
1930. No, I'm just fucking. I don't know.
Essentially, he was in a problem because Russia had just fought through World War I, had just had a civil war, had just fought off an invasion from the United States, Great Britain, a bunch of other European countries, and then had fought World War II. And
Hey, who cares about Russia?
well, but the issue is that when Stalin then took power, he said, because his people had been suffering for 15 years after they had taken power, he basically said, yeah, this is what socialism is. Yeah, we're socialists now. And that came to mean to a lot of people that that's what socialism means. However, there are two types of socialism when you get down to it. There's revolutionary socialism, which is the idea that you capture the state via violence, and then
Fuck around and find out.
then after you capture the state with violence, you're able to have a change to socialism, and that's basically what they were aiming for in Russia. But the type that I am is an evolutionary socialist, which is someone who works through democracy and getting the majority of people on their side in order to make changes. I believe that that's a viable thing because I think that the majority of changes that socialists would make benefit most people.
Now, can I ask a question? So I'm what I describe, and everybody here will back me up, as libertarian as fuck. I like freedom of choice. I don't like being forced, and I don't like forcing other people. I don't want to be a dictator. I don't want dictators ruling me. I don't want people with too much fucking charge that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Mhm.
Why don't we just have an option like we do now, where if people want to co-op, they can make a co-op. However, if I want to front the entire bill for opening up a corporation or a company and hire employees that need jobs, most of my employees are students, foreigners, or whatever. I've hired illegals at my business before. Don't care. What's wrong with having that choice? Why should we force people into having worker co-ops when a worker's trading their time for I'm paying them? If they are a good worker, they will make good wages. I pay my employees very well. If they are a shit worker, they can go fucking kick the curb.
Well, so this is my general stance, is that worker co-ops tend to be more efficient. They produce more wealth for your local economy, and this is why, by the way, a lot of localities have incentives for starting local worker co-ops. However, it's harder to start co-ops because it's generally not a well-known business model in the United States.
Do you know what also is more productive, or just as productive, if not more than a co-op? So I don't have a high employee turnover rate because I pay my employees insanely well. Like out here, you find me some, everybody's fighting for $15 an hour. My cashiers, people that literally take somebody's order and hand them a fucking loaf of bread, take home between $23 and $27 an hour. Okay, that's my motivation for them to stay. If they're good, we get that.
Wait, where you live, Samantha?
Hold on. When they start, yes, they start on minimum wage. After 30 days to show, all I need to know is that they can do the fucking job and they're competent. I don't mind if you're a felon. I don't mind. And I've had numerous felons. I've had numerous whatever. I don't care. If you can do your job and do it correctly, you're going to make a shit ton of money and be happy and have health care. Now, if you're a shit employee, you're going to stay at that fucking minimum wage until you fucking do shit in line. And after 3 months, if you don't work out, you're going to go kick the curb and you can go back to trying to get $13 an hour fucking In-N-Out burger.
I have a question for Jackal.
You sound so shitty, dude, about that stuff.
The fuck, say
okay.
You sound drunk.
And perhaps I am, but I've made 25, 30, 40 bucks an hour, doing what I do, and it's and you're all, if you can't make $17.50, then you suck.
The fuck?
No. I think if employers can't pay their people a working wage that makes them want to work, if you pay your employees well, they don't want to leave. They want to do a good job because they value that job. Now, I'm not going to give their employees shares in the company.
No, right on. I get you. Okay.
Come to work. I'm going to give them a reason to work hard for me. I send them on fucking dinner meals and I just hand the credit card. Come here and I have employee appreciation parties.
Right on, man. Right on.
When they feel valued as an employee, I don't call them employees. These are my friends and my extended family. I treat them as such. One of them had a broken car. I gave him the truck and the title.
Happy to hear. Happy to hear.
Employees, as a capitalist, if you take care of your employees, they will take care of you. The more money I give them, the more money I get. And guess what? The more money I get, the more I can give them. Until I have the coolest fucking employees, the best, hardest working motherfuckers that get up at 2 a.m. to bake fucking bread for a bunch of rich white assholes in Pebble Beach.
Yep. There you go. Yep.
Value
right on, man. Right on.
That's why I don't think socialism. I think people just need to be an open mind and not be a dick. You don't need socialism or communism to tell you to do that. You just need to make the choice to not be a fucking asshole.
For me, it's just gonna hurt to not be a dick, but I'm.
That's because you're old and white.
I'm doing my best.
For the course for old
drunk and high.
What was the question?
You got to do a monologue there, Sam.
Nice.
Yeah, no. Why do we have to have a system that forces us to do this? Why can't we have a choice? And just teach more people, more business owners to get them their employees to value their job and value your employees. Why can't we have a choice?
So the issue is that I believe that by changing the system, we help to incentivize people to work harder, because they have an investment in their company. And in the success of the wider company. And I also think that, for example, when you mentioned robots, I think that this is a way that we can avoid the whole crisis of I can't ever say that word right. Robotics.
What about
Automation.
your like baseline employee that just doesn't give a shit about owning a company, that doesn't care to have any input? They just want to go in, they want to punch the clock, they want to make their $16 an hour, they want to go the fuck home, they want to go drink some vodka, they want to smoke some fucking pot, they want to play some Xbox, and they want to come to work the next day. What about those people? Why the fuck are we going to make them trying to own part of a company?
It's not necessarily
an NDA or something where you cannot work in another similar place for people that want to have 2 jobs to make even more money.
I don't think there's anything.
They
I
have
don't
stake.
think there's anything wrong with doing that. To be 100%
Okay,
honest.
but then why try to make them part of a company, or why try to make them part owner of a company? Why give them that responsibility? Why not give them the option to go, look, you know what? I don't really care about doing all of that shit. I just want to smoke my weed and play my Xbox, and I want to pay my rent. That's it.
Because
cool. You treat me well enough. That's great. Cool. I want to work for a corporation. Why can't we have?
Finish. Let her finish.
When worker co-ops go in the red, guess who's at liability as well?
Yeah, exactly.
This is like
you could be burying more people. The system, the way it is now, is why all these companies come to America to open big corporations. These corporations, I guarantee you, if we went socialist or forced co-op, I guarantee you every one of these big companies, Silicon Valley, would jet off to fucking China. All these other companies would jet off to fucking China, Taiwan, anywhere else but here.
Okay, so here's the deal. I'm not proposing a system where we Thanos snap everyone into a worker co-op. I'm not proposing that at all. Sorry, Wiggles.
Zin paid for a redneck to speak.
Okay.
For 10 minutes.
Really? Okay.
Awkward.
A little. All right, Redneck, you get 2 minutes to say your piece, I guess.
How many?
2. Yep,
2.
5,000 points.
Socialism sucks. It's a nice concept, and I think it should be voluntarily, i.e., just like everything else in America. We have the right. If you already have the right to do what you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why you want to push and change major policies when our government's not restricting you from creating a co-op. Number one. Number two, from the side of the social structure, i.e. social services that usually go along with socialism, those as well, I believe, should come out of the government's hands and go into a nonprofit world even more so. So I would say I'm with you if you agree to get rid of social welfare programs out of the government's hands and allow them to be put into the community as well, because then you're allowing hospitals to become co-ops. You're allowing counselors to be co-ops. Like there's an organization called Cohen Network, the Cohen Network, and they're a nonprofit mental health program for veterans. They strictly started to help veterans because we had we only had 4,000 mental health experts that helped veterans right after.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, we had for 1.2 million active veterans that needed counseling. We only had 4,400 psychiatrists. Well, this Cohen Network kicked in, and they're a co-op. They literally asked other counselors to, participate in their nonprofit. So, I mean, I'm not going to disregard what you're saying, but I think that we don't need to change our government, guys. We can do everything that you want to do within the boundaries. That's what's so beautiful. You just got to accept capitalism.
So here's my immediate response is that I think we're basically on the same page, to be 100% honest with you. So when I say worker co-ops, I'm not talking about like some Thanos snap where one day we are like, you're all mandated to become worker co-ops. Sorry, them's the bricks. What I'm talking about is that over time we have policies like, for example, right now we give millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to subsidize like the oil industry, for example,
and Israel,
and like all of these other things.
Corporate welfare is also welfare.
What if instead we put that money into like a government program where you can get a loan for a worker co-op, because worker co-ops generate more productivity and more wealth for communities.
Now. You can now.
Well, but the thing is, it's really difficult in the United States.
Why? It's harder.
Because
there's
not
regulations in the way. It's harder.
There are regulations, and also and I know this because I've gone through the process of having to try and start a worker co-op. There aren't a lot of lawyers in this country that specialize in starting worker co-ops.
No. So isn't a worker co-op still started from like an individual company, i.e., and then they decide to open it up as a co-op?
No, it's a different beast.
How many,
Isn't
how
that the
many
easiest way to do it?
How many co-ops in America were started as co-ops and not a company that went into a co-op
Correct.
platform?
That's where I'm at too, because
That I don't know off the top of my head.
every co-op I've experienced, I've only experienced co-ops up north
Mhm.
in the farming community where I moved to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
co-ops everywhere up here.
Yeah.
Same
Man,
in
they
Like
were all-
Lando Lakes is a
Redneck,
gigantic
we have a
co-op.
couple of co-op breweries here in the Twin Cities. Like they're
Okay.
Yeah,
things,
I
but
know.
they're-
you don't-
it's
Right,
much
but that's what I'm
harder to
saying.
do. It's
But
much
they
harder
started-
to do.
They started as an individual company and then they partnered with other small companies and co-opted. That's how they did it.
So Lando Lakes is a horrible example. I don't know if you all heard the debacle of them.
Oh,
taking
and Zen,
the-
thank you very much.
Where they had a picture of the Indian and the land on their packaging, and then they took the Indian, but they kept the land. And it's just kind of ironic. And Lando Lakes is a shit company. Just reminding everybody.
Yeah,
Lando Lakes
like,
is
and
sitting
also,
in a beautiful
I
area.
That's all right.
I don't want to
If you're
say
not buying
know.
Marigold, you're not based.
I don't know.
I don't want to say, by the way, that like every single co-op works the same, and this is part of what I mean too, because we need more co-ops and need more, because right now there's a ton of investment in how to efficiently structure companies, how to have all these business plans in that regard. Not so much when it comes to worker co-ops. Despite that, the research tends to show that worker co-ops are more productive. So I think, given time, we can make worker co-ops even better. But part of the problem is we need to invest in it and have more knowledge about how to get these things started and make it easier to get them started.
For the record, as a libertarian candidate, I would like to say I'm not against co-ops. I actually am a part of 2 co-ops. I just don't like taking away freedom of choice from people.
Well, and that's
I don't like that. If somebody wants to run a company by themselves, I don't
So-
think they should.
well,
they
but
should-
I
Here's-
haven't
here's-
said
here's
that
the
you
biggest
can't.
problem, though.
What?
Here's the biggest problem. If you're 27 people that want to start a co-op, no bank in the world is going to look and go, "Oh, okay, we'll run 27 people's credit and allow you to apply co-jointly as 27 different people." They're going to say, "No, we want to run 2 people's credit, and you're the business applicants. That's
know-
it. Period. End of story. You have to have the capital collectively as
You're
2
right.
people."
You know as well as I do that the banks are fucked up. When we opened my business and it took over 1.8 mil, like it was a shit show. And that was only 2. That was some people selling off everything they own in France and coming over here, and then a VA loan. It's not very easy. And then
But
you know,
that's,
once
I
your
guess,
credit
so
score
maybe
drops-
less so directed to you, but more so
Yeah,
directed
but
towards
it's really-
Redneck. There are a lot of barriers in the way to
There are.
forming co-ops in America.
and banks being
You don't
regulated
need a
the way they
loan
are.
to start a business, though.
Yes, you do.
You have 27
America, I
people.
guarantee
You
you.
can start a business without a loan. You can have
If they
27
have
people.
capital and liquid to begin
Yeah,
with.
let's say $1,000 each. That's 27 grand. Or
Yeah, if you have 27 me's and Samanthas and fucking Tigers, sure.
Yeah,
well, I started my business with less than $500.
Yeah, but what are you making net per year compared to what I'm making net per year compared to what Tiger is making net per year? Not gross,
Easy
net.
now, easy now.
No.
Well,
Sin,
probably
it's
not
small
as
companies,
not
small
as much as you guys are, but I'm
No,
only
a
been
small
in
company.
business
You
for
gotta
5 years.
understand. We're not talking about a small company, just like Redneck, Revol, Reed, whatever the other Redneck, right? That company could be just him doing something. It could be just a couple people, or me, where I have multiple employees. I'm over, right? Multiple bakers, multiple pastry chefs, multiple cashiers, drivers, delivery drivers, insurances, vehicles, assets. You gotta understand, there's a big difference from starting a business where you're selling pornographic stickers on Etsy, compared to a business where I'm trying to feed half of my state.
No shit.
Yeah,
amount of-
theoretically though, you have if
for
you
y'all,
have
if y'all wanna
27
know.
people, you have 27.
I have a
means
question
of,
for Jack.
Yeah.
All right.
So I heard your take on what socialism is. What's your take on what capitalism is?
Well, so I didn't actually finish with my take on socialism because we got sidetracked by worker co-ops and
railroaded by people who will never. And I will speak on this. You guys do this every time someone comes here with this idea. I just want to ask some questions, and you guys will never agree with them. Yet you railroad them with your stories and your things against co-ops, and it's like,
Hold
you
on. I
eliminate
don't
the
think
chance-
Samantha and I are disagreeing with worker co-ops.
Oh,
Hey, Wiggle,
yes.
Wiggle.
No,
That's
they're-
not fair.
they're-
You'd be
How about we not let railroad
Yeah.
road her and let her finish her.
Jackalope,
finish her
if-
point.
Would you click on that link that I
Everyone,
shared in the
everyone.
Twitch stream and see if that's a valid one for you? Because it says what is a cooperative and how to start one, and it literally is written by a lady that is
away.
done
which stream did you put it in?
Mine.
this. Tiberius's.
Okay.
So Wiggle.
Just let me know if that's
Trying to
something that's worth
differentiate
reading.
between actual socialism as socialism stands in most
Can
countries.
you put it in again? Because I just opened up that stream.
It's not about
And
that. It's
positive
it's
and
more about like you guys have formulated opinions.
Hold on.
There we go.
There's
You
a
already
difference.
have
There's a
formulated
difference.
opinions.
No. But you don't even know my opinion. There's a difference
Yeah,
between
no. I'm saying that you have a formulated opinion,
my
and no
sentence,
matter what
guys.
Jack Lope will tell
You're
you, it won't
railroading me.
change.
You're railroading me.
I'm not.
just
I'm.
trying to clarify the difference
You've
between
spoken
socialism,
so long.
between socialism and positive social policies.
I
There
am
are
not
positive
saying that you're
social
against worker
policies.
co-ops. Don't
I'm
be
not against worker
afraid. I am
co-ops.
not saying that. I am saying that for those of us in here like me that are on the fence, I don't get the chance to say anything. But you guys already have formulated opinions on this,
I
and
was
then
asking
you're
questions. I
flooding
didn't
the
know
question
why
waves.
giving people a choice. No,
What?
I'm for co-ops. I'm not against co-ops. I'm for choice, though. If somebody has a business, they shouldn't be pigeonholed into forcing it into a worker co-op.
But it's like,
I'm a member of REI.
all right, I understand. You're a benevolent owner of a business.
I'm a
I
philanthropist
understand.
as well.
You're great to the people that work for you.
I'm like
I
a
understand. It's just like for me, it's like whatever Jackalope will say, it won't change your opinion. You've
No,
had a formulated opinion.
I agreed with her on some things, and some things when she clarified her position, I agreed on.
Yes,
When I didn't know initially.
but
So
you agreed based on an understanding you already had. So
no, I don't understand these things. You got to remember, I'm new to the politics world. I know what I believe in, but I don't know what all this shit is. I just know socialism bad. Come here.
Socialism not bad.
You're an idiot. Everybody's fleeing Venezuelan socialist countries.
How about Jack finishes her point on?
How about
socialism?
touching a child that doesn't like you?
It's like Jack's reading something.
Yeah, I was going over
Children
what
love me
Redneck sent me,
lots,
but I think
but hey.
Redneck. I think I would have to go over that for a while longer to know whether or not like that's good or not. I can show you what I have typically looked at if you would like that.
Sure.
Okay, where can I put that? I guess I can.
Tiberius's chat.
I guess
Still
I
the
can
place
follow.
I'm at.
There we go.
Oh my god, she
There you
followed.
go. There you go.
So terrible.
Wait, why did that have a comma in there? What the hell? Does the link still work?
It does. Just copy and
Okay.
paste in Twitch chat. It's kind of weird sometimes.
But yeah, so essentially, I advocate for policies that would make it easier to form worker co-ops, and that would, over a long period of time, provide a certain, not necessarily like an incentive, but I believe that, for example, if employees are being treated well at a private company, they would probably vote maybe not to become a worker co-op. They would opt not to buy that company, but maybe they would, you know? And
So is this an issue? Is this looking at your stats that you sent? It shows that the majority of the average size of co-ops in America are 50 people, but the
Yeah.
median is 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that the co-ops are usually in rural America.
Yeah, most of them tend to be pretty small. However,
Yeah.
this is also another reason where I'm talking about like we need more business strategies because co-ops can get larger. Like for example, one of the major ones is the Mondragon Corporation in Spain. It's like a $15 billion per year company. It has thousands of employees and stuff. So like there's some research that needs to be done in necessarily like scaling these things up, but I don't think it's impossible. But then we get into decommodification after that, because I think that there are some very reasonable arguments that you can make in favor of worker co-ops as should be our dominant model. And I think that there are some reasonable policies that we could adopt that over a long period of time, maybe even like long after we're dead, could result in worker co-ops becoming the norm.
So they do mention though that 46% of them incorporate under corporative statuses, 26 operate as LLCs, and the remainder are Type C or partnerships. So that means they started off as a regular company.
It very much
Even the document you sent me says how they all did it.
It depends where you are.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
can
I don't
ask
think we're talking past each other. I think I agree with you because I've seen co-ops, and I'm not opposed. I've even said it myself. I raise chickens, and I do it out of the kindness because they help me selfishly with my anxiety.
Yeah.
And I take all my leftover eggs to the food pantry. and I'm trying to encourage others to do the same thing,
Yeah.
or be a collective of egg givers. I.e., if I know of somebody that grows chickens in your neck of the woods,
Mhm.
and you want fresh eggs, I vouch for you. You get fresh eggs from them, and I'll promise to give them somebody fresh eggs in my area
Hell
for
yeah.
them. I.e.,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's the kind of that's a free market, though, right?
Well, I don't necessarily know
No,
if
that's
you're like
mercantilism. That's different.
if you're like
Mercantilism.
I don't you're
It's
like
different.
giving each other. That sounds more like a almost sounds more like an like an anarcho type philosophy where you're just doing mutual aid to each other.
But you're a cooperative of chicken farms.
Well, if
And
you're
just
are
because
you
you're
like
in a
selling
different
them?
state,
Is that what you mean when you say
you
give
you
eggs?
can
Yeah.
you can sell them, or you can donate them, or you can receive donations and offer them like right now. Me and my wife accept donations.
Mhm.
That's it. We don't, we suggest a price like $3 a dozen,
Yeah.
or $5 for a flat of 30 eggs.
Yeah.
If they pay, they pay. If they don't, take the eggs, and then whatever's left we take to the food pantry and just give it to them.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be that's beautiful and wonderful, and I think that sort of thing could flourish underneath a worker co-op model.
Are you?
Because I'm literally
using-
looking at starting something. That's why I mean, we're serious, because we can't keep afford paying the fucking food costs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you work together with some groups, I think you could you could start something that way.
But again, redneck, the issue you're going to run into is that requires capital to do that, and that requires capital
I'm
from
already doing
either you as a sole.
I'm already paying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
But
is
my
part...
point is, redneck. My point is, and Jack, I think you and I are probably going to go to the same point here, is that you as a sole person have that capital. If you are 7 people making $12 an hour, you probably don't have the fucking capital to get a loan like that. It's not how it works.
Yeah, this is, by the way, partly why a lot of co-ops tend to be rural, like agronomic companies, like, working in food production and such.
Mills.
Yeah, mills. It's because a lot of people who own farms can pool. They have an easier time pooling their resources together and starting up something.
And they can't.
Like that.
They can afford that shit. And then I've noticed that the tractors will go around and they'll take care of each property,
Mhm.
and then they'll still put it on all the same silos, and it says co-op.
Yeah, exactly.
This area's co-op.
That's oh Christ, there's actually a company. You're talking about the co-op sign with the red top and the black bottom?
I have no idea.
No, I'm talking about in Wisconsin. There's a ton of farmer, i.e., co-ops, where they bring all of their silage, i.e., whether it's corn, soybeans, or whatever, and they create these cooperatives, because these big gins, you can't afford to run your own gin these days, and so you got to take them all to these stores. Now there's two very large plants near me. Purina dog food is down the road, so of course they buy a lot of the stuff. But then there's this big global company called ADM, I think it's called AGM or ADM, and they build the base for food products, I guess. I don't know. All I know is I see a shit ton of corn and wheat and soy silos that are probably 30 stories high, sitting next to a dock, and tanker ships come in on the Mississippi River, and they just fill that shit up and send it along the way.
Mhm.
Yep.
And they're a global corporation, but they receive goods from these co-ops.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm sort of like,
I'm sorry. As far as the location of co-ops, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot everywhere.
Mhm.
But the problem that they have, and one of the reasons why, like, I'm not against co-ops. I'm actually support them. But they seem to be largely hard limited at being over anything under 100. Anything over 100, they really have trouble with. Not saying that's granted, but it's very rare that they get over 100 people.
And it might be that the system that we wind up having is like almost like co-ops on top of co-ops to kind of manage these things. And I'm not going to pretend like I have it all figured out or anything remotely like that. But generally, from what I've seen, it seems like worker co-ops tend to have much happier employees, much more efficient employees, and more equitably distribute like the profits of
And if
whatever
that's the
enterprise.
case, if that's true, I'm all for it. Like,
Yeah.
great, go ahead. If we're going to talk about like a marketplace of ideas, great. If that's what people want, go ahead.
And most of my policies are just in favor of making it easier so that if someone is poorer, they can still have that startup and take a chance on a worker co-op, you know? Yeah. So
I have to get you in touch with MotoCap.
my issue there, or my question, or my potential issue,
Mhm.
it becomes the risk that you're asking lenders to take. And this sounds like
Mhm.
okay. Straight up, I'm just gonna say it. In a general sense, people with less money tend to have
more risk.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Tend to be more risks in terms of lending them money. And so that requires us loosening the requirements for that, which we saw in like 07 leading up to the 08 market crash, was a terrible
Shut
fucking idea.
up, dude. No.
The reason
no,
that
no, no, no,
IPAs
no, 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 no,
the
no,
reason
no. Hang on a
IPAs were
second.
allowed to get away with that is because he's Asian.
Stop. Let me continue about that for a second, okay? That was one part of what led to the 08 market crash. The other part of it was, yes, a bunch of really fucking shady securities trading that fucked everything up, okay? I'm not saying that wasn't part of it, but also part of it was the fact that the government deregulated the lending process and said, yes, you have to fucking give these people loans, even though you had a bunch of actuaries saying, nah, probably not a good idea.
Yeah. So my response to that is basically that worker co-ops tend to be more successful as startups than private company equivalents.
Okay.
Meaning that, and also most worker co-ops, after they're established, tend to be more resilient to like market forces. So like if the market has a downturn or something, worker co-ops tend to do a little bit better than their private counterparts. And
Fair.
They also, because they're collectively owned, they're much less prone to, for example, mass layoffs, because it's been found that generally workers are willingly take pay cuts in order to preserve jobs of their fellow employees. And
I'm sure if you could show that data to an actuary, that would make sense to them.
Yeah. And I think that maybe this is why one of my policy positions would be making like a government program to make it a little bit easier to get that capital, and have it be a loan, so it's not like the government is loaning this out. Generally, worker co-ops tend to be for the benefit of the local community, and I think that that's generally probably a good investment. Typically a worker co-op isn't going to vote to move their factory over to China, for example. So things like that, I think I generally I'm just in favor of co-ops. I think they're really neat, think they're a good idea, and think that we should have more policies to encourage their establishment and possibly the conversion of capital in the future. Though I'm open to different ideas, you know?
I'm opposed to forcing co-ops. I am totally for the choice, but first and foremost, I think what we need to look at that's more feasible than doing the co-op thing for everybody is raising the fucking stupid ass in fucking humane minimum wage.
Oh yeah.
No.
Well,
bad. Dumb.
Sorry. No,
Bad
here's the
libertarian.
thing.
Bad
No,
libertarian.
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Bad
Here's the thing.
libertarian.
Hold on. If you can't afford to pay your employees $15 an hour, you're already a failing business.
No, Samantha, if you want all of the homophobes, if you want all of the xenophobes, if you want all the fucking racists exposing themselves like you said last night, fuck that. We should let all of the bad businesses expose themselves. If I asked any of you to work for me for $1 an hour, you would tell me to kick rocks. Why the fuck is that any different for $7.50 an hour or $9.75 an hour or whatever the fuck it is, anything less than you need to live?
It's about availability.
See,
every company in your area pays like $8 an hour.
Here's my position. If we had worker co-ops, we wouldn't need to raise the minimum wage, because typically that profit that the company is extracting is going to be more equitably distributed, so it becomes a non-issue.
Yeah, but they're not putting in the equitable amount of work most of the time. Somebody's going to be taking more of that work, which means somebody needs to take more of that pay.
Right, but I also don't think that Jeff Bezos, for example, works 30 billion times harder than the average employee.
It's not like they.
Okay,
No.
Bezos,
If a co-op, Samantha, that's not how a co-op works. If a co-op is 100 people, they don't split it 100 ways. That's not how it works.
So everybody's going to sit in a boardroom and make every decision by holding each other's dicks and fucking talking about it for 6
Okay,
hours?
so that is one of the problems I have with co-ops, right? So if we're gonna get into that, right? Like,
Oh,
that
that's
is
such
one
a
of the
good
problems I have.
idea.
How does the janitor
But you hold my
have
dick?
more of a say than the fucking actuary or the CEO
So-
or the
Thank you.
lawyer?
So they
Thank you.
so they
Or
don't.
a
So
CFO, yeah.
I can actually explain this because I've gone
So
through the
it's
trouble of trying to
it's
set up a
socialism
co-op.
co-op with a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
So basically, how it
So it's
works.
capitalism
Well, yeah,
with
it's-
multiple partners in a business.
I mean,
okay,
you
thanks.
can have a market. Anyway,
Thank you.
Finish, Jack. Save your being bad faith here.
here's the issue.
That's
I
not
know,
bad faith.
it's fine.
She literally described that.
Well, the issue is that here's how it generally could work. An example of how it could work. It could work in a lot of different ways, but here's how, in my head, I have my personal co-op that I would like to start planned. Everyone's a member of the co-op. If you work for the company, you get a say in the general vote. Once every quarter or so, everyone shows up. They vote on, they're able to nominate different issues that they would like to have the company pursue, whether that's better working conditions, expanding the company, whatever, a personalized issue with the company, whatever. And then it's put to a general vote. That's how you establish the priorities of the company for the next quarter. And then someone is elected to represent those issues on the board of
So
directors.
it's just like the capitalist way of having shareholders vote on
exactly.
things.
It's
So
like that,
it's
except
capitalism.
well, it's
That
can I explain
is
this
the
without
people that actually
interruptions,
make
please?
money.
No, I'm just
Can I
wondering.
explain this without interruptions, please?
No, not
Sure.
especially not for me.
Okay. Well,
I mean, good
so
luck.
the issue
We'll give it a try.
issue
We'll give it
is-
a try, man.
the issue is everyone it is basically like a shareholder system, except it's within the company. So it's within the company, plus you might have someone on the board of directors who invested in the startup, but they would be slowly phased out of the company's operations after their loan is repaid. And then that board of directors then operates like a traditional company would. Yes, Tygar. I see that hand, finally.
About time. I didn't want to interrupt anybody.
$6 million, you can't get a decent camera. Jesus fuck, man.
Yeah, I'm a
No
Hey, rich people don't stay rich by spending their money.
Why would you not spend your money? I'm rich and I spend it. What am I gonna do? Die with all my fucking money buried with me? That's retarded. Spend
No,
it.
I'm
use it,
gonna
live it.
I'm gonna like put
Give
all my
it
money
away.
in a no. I'm
Buy
gonna put all
buy
my
your
money.
employees cars. Don't be a bitch.
Tiger,
I only
Tiger,
have one
you don't have
employee.
to go spend $1,200 on a fucking streaming setup, okay?
That's what you were gonna say, fucker. Come on now.
But no, what I was gonna say is it's kind of funny how these ideas work out in our the magic kingdom in our brain, but when it hits reality, it's a fucking shit show.
Okay, wonderful thing there, but like, what is the actual point? Like, okay, cool, it's a shit show. Like, what part of
Because her idea would never work.
But it
No,
does.
It could work.
on a level,
It,
on a
it
level,
could
already
work. In many cases, it does work.
On a
I'm
level,
part
it
of
works.
co-ops. So there's difference between like the agricultural co-ops that we are talking about earlier. That's not a workforce thing. So like the farmers markets out here are all co-ops. They're all the farmers that get together and put on these farmer markets. They work as businesses together, right, to form these farmers markets. That's making another business out of a bunch of smaller businesses cooperatively. Worker co-ops are like when workers have stake in the company. There's a difference. Worker co-ops already exist. I'm part of one, even though I don't work there. But I support what they do and how they do things, so I support them and hand them a shit ton of money. Philanthropy for the win. Now, it is something that works.
Wait, do
in
you
many other
mean that
countries.
people will voluntarily hand money to people for things that they believe are valuable?
Yes, I also buy
Shut the
many,
fuck up,
many.
Samantha.
Oh my god!
Shut
I
the
also
fuck
buy-
up. No, fuck you, Samantha. Shut the fuck up.
You agree with me though,
PA, I'll give you $1 million for your
You
soul.
you didn't pick up my sarcasm.
honey. You can't afford my soul. Satan already bought it out for far more than you can afford. But here's the thing: it works. Co-ops work in many other countries. Co-ops work in Canada. Co-ops work here. One of my favorite grocery stores is a fucking co-op. Lots of places that I go are most of the places I go are fucking co-ops. Now the only thing I'm against is forcing businesses to become co-ops. I'm fine with co-ops. I like co-ops, but I also like people to pay their employees reasonable wages so that they have good employees and not be a dick, because living in California is hard. I don't want my employees to have a hard life. The easier their life, the more likely they are to come into work. The less likely they are to be sick or struggling or have a bad car, if they have the money to repair their car, I'm not going to have issues with them coming into work. Therefore, I don't need 4 or 5 employees on backup standby in case someone calls in with a car broken down or this issue or childcare. Because guess what? I cover that shit because I'm not a bitch. Now, I'm not saying we should force companies to do that, but I'm saying if you can't afford to pay your employees a reasonable wage, if they give you good value of work, you're already failing as a business. If you can't afford a couple, shut the fuck up, Tiger. I don't care. You're a homeowner. You're a fucking leech. You're a fucking landlord. You're a goddamn leech. You're the worst capitalist of all the capitalists. You're
Really?
disgusting.
I'm a wise one.
Samantha, you being for real now?
Comrade?
I mean, there's a reason he's ugly, 800 fucking pounds, and doesn't do anything with his life other than hunt things in other states because he refuses to do it in his own state. And that's because
I
he's
had the money
leeching
to
off of
travel.
everybody else. Yeah, but you leech off of other people. I have the money to travel too. I travel all the time, but I'm also not a leech. I sell people bread. I sell people something valuable. I don't hold hostage homes that other people could use or buy themselves, and then hold it out for ransom money every month.
Comrade Samantha?
Actual
Wait a
fuck,
second.
Samantha.
Comrade Samantha?
No
Oh,
shit.
No, don't call me comrade. I swear to God, the only
No,
people.
you just went full fucking
No.
comrade status
You
here. I'm about to
did.
kick
No,
you out of
You
the
no,
jury.
did.
No,
You
no,
went.
I
You
have
went
no problem.
full
I have
fucking
no. I
progressive
have no
leftist.
problem. No, I have no problem with people owning a house. What I have a problem with people owning fucking 19 apartment complexes. Here's where shit
I
hits the
don't
fan.
own
People
apartment
like.
complexes.
No, here's the thing. I'm shitting on Tigar, but that's just
You own
because I'm
homes
shitting
that
on
people
Tigar for the
rent,
sake
same
of
thing.
shitting on Tigar. Now, what I have a problem with is people from foreign countries buying up a bunch of properties here, renting them out, and they're not even ever here. In California, we had a big problem with Chinese companies and corporations buying multiple houses and just going, hey, Airbnbs.
Mhm.
And that's what I have a problem with, and that's why I think they're the scum of the earth and fucking slumlords. Tigar is fucking small time. I'm giving shit to Tigar just because it's Tigar, and that's what I do. I don't think he's actually that bad person, but there are people way above him with multi-billions of dollars who buy up everything so that people like me cannot buy a house, and they jack up the prices because they make them all Airbnbs, fucking with the local economy.
Airbnb.
So yeah, if you fuck with the local economy and try to play games by balancing the economy just because you have more money to fuck with the economy of another country, fuck you, fuck your country, fuck the Chinese Communist Party, fuck Israel, and I'm not a comrade. The only people that are not people are communists. They are not people. They are below people.
Wait.
They
I can
are
send you
scum.
this book by
They are
now.
worthless.
I
Their
can send
value
you
as
this
a
book
human
by
being
now.
is zero.
I think you'll love it. Come on.
So,
No.
Samantha
here's the
would
thing.
use your book as toilet paper.
I have more pity watching a fucking bug get splatted by somebody on the bottom of their foot than I do watching communists get fucking papped. Like, just flat out. Hypothetically.
On stream. Come on.
I said hypothetically.
Uh-huh.
I think the person that sums up my beliefs the most was a person who was asked after a war what it was like to kill a man, and his only reply was, I don't know, I've only killed communists. That's my beliefs in a nutshell.
And Tiberius banned.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, folks. It is now almost 2 in the
can I-
morning. It is officially no longer Halloween, and therefore I officially look like a fucking moron.
No, you look epic. I
I'm gonna
love
go
that.
sleep.
Yeah, I think you look great.
10 out of 10 would smash.
Can I? So
Oh, God.
now I think I get into the more contentious part of socialism. I think when it comes to a lot of
wait, I
people
can
of
hang
your-
around for this. Hang on.
a lot of your persuasions.
Murdering your own constituents?
Well,
What do you mean, you people?
No, the issue is decommodification of parts of the economy. So, for example, I'm in favor of having basic subsistence housing available to anyone for free.
Fuck this. I'm out. Good night, everybody.
And partly the reason I'm in favor of this, by the way, is that it is proven in multiple studies to be a net benefit to our economy, to provide housing to homeless people. For example, every $1 spent on housing a homeless person typically brings back $2. And obviously that's within like a certain band of reason, right?
Okay, were these studies of socialist policies regarding giving everybody housing taken before or after all these socialist people were killed in their countries?
Do you know what socialism is?
I have been
Oliver
to socialist
Twist,
countries
holding
fighting.
a
Do you
bowl.
know, can you
I've
define
literally
it for me, or are you just going to use anecdotal things?
Anecdotal things. Anecdotal is how life is done. So communism is great on paper. The second you put
What
it
does
into
it
play in real
mean?
life, what
Tell
happens?
me what it means.
It means that we're going to deploy the American
No,
government
what does
to
it
stop
mean?
socialism.
Define it.
Oh my god.
Because
Literally,
otherwise,
am I wrong?
no, you
Am I
are.
wrong?
Tell me what it means.
I'm wrong.
Tell
What
me what it
happens to
means.
socialist countries when they become
Tell me what it
socialist?
means. It's a very
America
simple
says
question.
no. Stop that.
Tell me what it means. It's a very
It means
simple
a coup is
question.
incoming.
Define it for me. It's very simple.
A coup is generally small
no.
teams of people
Define
that go and
socialism or define communism for me. Define those two things for me.
communism is a form of state control that ends up in a dictatorship.
No.
Tell me I'm wrong. Does it not
Yes.
usually end up in a dictatorship?
No.
So
It
here,
always ends up that way. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
that they believe that's what it is, but it always goes there.
do you
successful
remember
communist
the
countries
issue
are there?
that I brought up at the very beginning when I started talking about socialism and how Stalin
How
was
many
like,
successful? How many
"Hey,
successful?
can you let me
socialist
finish
countries are there?
talking, please?"
No. How many successful?
Okay, if you're not
socialist
going to let
countries
me
are there?
finish talking, then there's no
How
point in
many
me trying to
socialist
talk
countries?
to you.
How many socialist countries?
I'm going to
are
mute
in...
you so I can actually make my points. All right. So the issue is that socialism is worker control over the means of production, and also, on top of that, decommodification of massive parts of our economy. And then the other issue is when you're talking about communism, it's further the dissolution of the state.
Redneck right between those two just looks so confused. Just look at his face.
So when you're saying, oh, socialism's bad, it means we're gonna have to do a coup, like, and I'm just asking you a very simple question to define the terms that I'm using, that you're decrying against. It's a very simple question that you should be able to answer. And when you can't answer it, and when you start like using these well, it's bad because anecdotal data. No, I don't give a shit about your anecdotal data. I don't care if you've been to a socialist country. I want to actually know what it means. And the fact that you can't answer that is just evident. It's evident, and it's a huge problem because it means we can't have this conversation because you have this idea of what it means that isn't accurate. So, like, that's fine. But if you don't want to have the conversation, you don't want to have the conversation, but you need to give room to other people to talk if you're not actually going to define your terms. All right.
Chances for socialism, and they killed other people, and then all their people from socialist countries ran to our country because it's so bad, apparently.
All right, Tiberius, I've really enjoyed
yes.
my time here. I have no ill will towards you,
Don't
Samantha.
leave me.
But like, you can't have a conversation, and it's really difficult to try and talk about really complicated ideas with you when you just barge
never
in
work.
and you
They
talk
never
about, oh,
work.
it never works, when you don't actually even know what it means.
When has it
You
worked?
literally don't know what it means, and it's so sad because it
When
could
has it
make your
worked?
life so much better.
My life is
If it can
wonderful.
make it better, why is it working?
Because part of the problem is that there are, again, I went over this earlier, I'll go over it again. There are two main paths to making socialism, and that's revolutionary or evolutionary. And with revolutionary politics, what you're supposed to do is capture the state via violence, which is what happened in Russia and China. And then after that, you're supposed to make the shift to socialism. That never actually happened in Russia or China, for example. Instead, Stalin said, "This is socialism. We got it good enough." And then instead, they became authoritarian, centralized, planned economies that still engaged in state capitalism. So that's the problem.
But why do we have so many people?
Complaining about state capitalism, you had me up till there.
I don't have.
No, but
why
that's
do we have
that's
so many
it.
people-
If you have a centrally planned economy and it's still engaging in capitalism,
It wasn't engaging in capitalism. They didn't have a stock market. They didn't have investment. The state dictated everything.
Stock markets and investment don't necessarily correlate to capitalism because it's a planned economy.
Yeah, a planned economy is the antithesis of a capitalistic economy. It doesn't have it doesn't have private ownership. It doesn't have investment. It doesn't have the exchange of capital. It is literally not capitalism. To even call it state capitalism is
Did the
Wait, no,
workers
you can
own
have
the
a
means
pla-
of production under?
no.
Yeah. So
Wait, you could have a.
was the economy
Shut up.
decommodified?
Yes.
No,
Actually,
it wasn't because they actually sold products.
Yeah, they sold products. It doesn't mean that it was commodified. It was rationed. They actually broke their supply and demand curves. They didn't do it on a supply and demand model. They didn't have markets. They literally did it by rationing. You got what you requisitioned.
All I'm saying is that they did engage in state capitalism within the Soviet bloc because they couldn't trade with capital like the Western bloc, right? So they were engaging in a form of state capitalism in that sense. It's just that instead of going to like a stock market or to a generalized market, it went to the state, and then the state used that when it in relation to other countries. So that's the problem, because it's not socialist, because the people weren't
No, I'm not. I'm
experiencing
sorry. I'm not
these...
advocating that it was socialist.
Okay.
There's a spectrum here on like how we economists like define economic integration within a government.
Okay.
Like you have your laissez-faire, and then you have like a more interventionist style.
Mm-hmm.
You have state capitalist, and then you have just full-on central planning. Now,
so what's
just
the difference between central planning and state capitalism?
if you know your economics, the Soviet Union is central planning. Modern China is state capitalist.
Yeah.
If you want like the actual verbatim, what China does is that they have all these institutions that act like corporate entities, just like they do here. But China will use its apparatus to build them, fill them out, and to serve largely a political purpose.
Right.
The difference between China and the Soviet Union is China allows you to invest. That's why you can just go into the Chinese market. You can own privately things within China, although they get very touchy about the regulations on it. It is still a commodities market to where you can purchase things at the supply and demand that particular commodity would ask for. Soviet Union had none of that. Soviet Union literally said, "This is your job. This is what you're doing. This is how much you're selling it for. This is how much you're buying it for." That's the end of the story. That's one of the big reasons why it didn't work out very well.
Right. And when I say I'm advocating for market socialism, I'm not advocating for a position like that where there's a highly powerful state or anything like that. But basically, I might be wrong when it comes to state capitalism versus whatever the Soviet Union had. But regardless, it's not socialism, it's not communism, because also USSR and China had states, right? Like they had states. And having a state doesn't mean you don't have a government, or having no state doesn't mean that you don't have a government. I might be wording that wrong. I think you get the idea.
On a serious note, though,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you go to a location that already practices these things just to fill it out and see if that's actually what you want in life?
Well, because part of the problem is that there isn't currently a place on Earth where these things are practiced. There are varying sliding scales, but for the most part, most of the countries on Earth engage in capitalism in some form now.
Doesn't that mean that capitalism is the right approach?
Well, so here's part of the thing. A lot of people don't actually read Marx. They assume Marx is like a radical lefty who hates capitalism or whatever. Marx was actually pro-capitalism because in his view of how economics works, you had feudalism, which was really shitty, and then you had capitalism, which was an improvement over feudalism. And then his idea was that, well, actually having like bosses and having these people, taking the excess profit when they're not doing as much work, or they're doing as much work but they're getting more money, that doesn't seem very good either. It seems similar to feudalism, but it is an improvement. So what if we had a different system where things were more equitably like distributed? You worked, you got some share in that collective product. And that's actually why it's called socialism, because it's meant to be social, like the community.
So the only thing I'll say, actually I've got two things there, but no, the only thing I was trying to separate between me and you in our conversation was state capitalism is not central planning. There is a difference there, and very big one at that. And so that was the only contention I would have. Now I've dealt with a lot of market socialists like yourself. Some of them are good friends of mine, most are not, but that's whatever. On that regard, I get what most of the ideas that you are having, and if you ever want to do a one-on-one with me or whatever, we can.
I mean, I'm always open to learning new stuff. So like, if you want it, like if we ever want to come on my Twitch or whatever and have a conversation about planned economy versus like state capitalism, I'm all down for that. I love learning new shit like that.
Yeah.
And because it helps me have these conversations better, and like. Just going back to what I was talking about earlier, decommodification, I advocate for policies that I think make sense and would allow someone to have a like a relatively decent quality of life, and would allow them to then get an education, to pursue whatever they're passionate about. Whether that's starting a new worker co-op or studying breakthrough scientific research, whatever. I want to live in a world where everyone is able to achieve their potential and contribute to society to the greatest extent.
What if they don't want to?
And if they don't want to, I think that should be fine. It should be you should be able to live a life where you're not being coerced into working if you don't want to.
Jack, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say beforehand, I warned you. I can't really control my autism. I'm like literally autistic as fuck.
Oh, it's super.
And
okay.
I gave you fair warning when I got here in the beginning. I'm open about my autism, and I don't care. But like sometimes it just turns into like a fuck you, and that's all I'm gonna say for 5 minutes. The only worry I have is with how many people flee socialist countries. It's going to be a really big problem for America if that happens here and all the corporations and companies flee here. Then we're just left, with our dick in our hands and nothing to show for it.
Well, typically, one of the reasons a lot of people flee socialist countries is that
because they're old.
Well, it's because typically the socialists who have taken over are of the revolutionary rather than the evolutionary types. Revolutionary types, they take power with guns, and then they'll kill anyone who disagrees with them. I'm not of that type. I think we should.
A lot of times in both sides, don't they end up like rationing stuff out, and there's a possibility for stuff to be rationed irrationally. That sounds weird, but like that's the way my brain thinks about it. And like, can't that cause a situation here where we're either starving for food or medication? Could that cause shortages and shit like that if that starts happening on either side, revolutionary or evolutionary?
It's possible, though I think that the risks of that are greatly reduced by an evolutionary model where we're slowly adopting these things over time. And I think that generally, given that worker co-ops tend to be more efficient and more productive, I think that generally we would actually be overproducing food, much like we are now. We're already overproducing food. There's no reason for anyone on our planet to actually be going hungry. It's mostly just that we don't put the money and investment into feeding people.
But if you get a bunch of workers in worker co-ops that don't know how, so farmers know how to run their businesses. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, probably passed down, right? What if you get some of these workers in the worker co-op that don't understand it and then drive these businesses into the ground because they're fucking retarded when it comes to business, but they're great when it comes to being an employee. But they think they have a great idea and other people agree with that idea, and it ends up driving that business into the ground. Now all those workers are out of it, and now they take on the risk of welcome to being an owner. So they put multiple people out. Now that farm shuts down. Now could be a food shortage, and that could happen with any line of business. I mean, Silicon Valley coders are coders. They're great with coding, but they're kind of shit when it comes to anything else.
So worker co-ops actually right now tend to have greater success rates on startup than private businesses do. So
yeah, but what's the rate of co-ops starting up compared to normal businesses starting up?
Well, I think
you have to take that into a factor, because if you're going to just throw blanket statements out there, it's like the 1350 rule when it comes to black people and violence. It has no context.
I think that generally it's based on the rate of creation. I don't know. It's a good point. But
because if like say there's only like 5 co-ops starting up a year, but then there's like 10,000 small businesses trying to start up a year. Yes, just because of the sheer volume of stuff trying to start up on either side, you're going to have a disproportionate percentage.
Well, I'm also open to the fact that maybe I'm wrong about all this, and maybe there's maybe capitalism is the best way. But I think that given the data available to us, we'd be silly not to try, right? If we have something that's more efficient.
I agree with you, and you're going to understand that, like, if you come talk to me more, if I'll come jump into your Twitch and stuff, I don't care. But I'm more about freedom of choice. So like I believe in a lot of socialist policies. There are great socialist policies, but I don't want to turn into a country that would cause people to flee. People come here because they feel it's safe, they feel they have opportunity. I don't want to ever become a country where, like, I don't like it now because there's people here that feel unsafe just being here. I don't want to be that country where people have to start to flee, like I've seen in socialist countries. Like, I've been on foot in socialist countries, and I don't want to see that here. France, my partner is from France, primary socialist country. They're going through a lot of shit right now because they're learning they need to pull it back away from so much socialism that they've adopted and start taking a more rational approach on some things. They've gone too far to the socialist side. They're trying to come back, and that's causing a rift in France right now. A lot of big bullshit. But like, so like, for example, like healthcare, social safety net, but you should also have the option, so you choose to pay for better healthcare if you want to. That's your choice. That's your money. Whatever you want to do with it, right?
So my
You know,
my argument
of
here
choice.
is that as part of like decommodifying the economy, I think that things like healthcare should be decommodified too, which means we just take it out of the sphere of like a private for-profit industry, and that way we can do it cheaper collectively.
I will tell you
we
right
can do
now.
it
I will
better.
tell you right now. I will
You
tell
do
you right
realize
now.
that there's a place called the Mayo Clinic and also Kaiser Permanente that are both nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I
Right?
will also tell you right now that if the world or if Americans really think they want socialized healthcare, they're welcome to take a look at veterans healthcare
Yep.
and understand how fucking piss poor. I've literally had to wait 8 months for a simple appointment.
Mhm.
Socialized
Well,
healthcare
also-
right now is not feasible. You can have socialized healthcare if done properly.
I would argue though that part of the reason VA systems tend to suck so much is that they're
Democrat?
they're catering to a very a relatively small minority of the United States population. If rich people,
What?
if
It's the largest healthcare system in America.
Well, if
Yeah,
if rich people have to be part of the system too, they're not going to let it fail.
No, but here's the thing. Give rich people the option. I don't want to sit in a waiting room next to a fucking cuck.
Next to
no.
a fucking poor person? Is that what you
No,
mean?
rich.
Fuck
I
that.
don't like rich people.
Oh.
Most of my money I give away. I don't like the 1% type stuck-up motherfuckers. But if they want to have private healthcare and go like take a private jet to go get fucking heart surgery, let them spend their
like,
money and do
so-
whatever the fuck they want with it. They're
but,
gonna
like, this
support
is-
some
this
surgeon.
is-
I don't give a shit.
This is part of my issue is that like this is the same argument people have about like school choice, for example.
No, but you're taking away freedom
like-
of choice by socializing healthcare.
but-
They're going to
but here-
assign you a doctor.
But here's the
They're
issue.
going to
One of the
assign you a doctor.
reasons
What if
that
doctor
inner
makes you
city
uncomfortable?
schools suck so much is because a lot of rich people send their kids to private schools.
No,
and they don't.
That's because private or public schools suck because of gerrymandering and redlining.
Well, yeah, that too. But also
that contributes to that what you're saying.
Right. I'm not saying it's the only problem, but part of the issue is if you send rich kids to those schools, rich people are going to make sure that those schools have the funds they need.
No, yeah, and that's
And
why
it's
most
the
rich kids
same
actually
with
go to
our
private
healthcare
schools that are
system
paid for.
because right now in the United States, our healthcare system is the best in the world if you have the money for it. If you don't have the money for it, fuck
second
you.
best. Second best. But here's the thing though, like it's still the freedom to choose always have to be there. People need to be able to make their own decisions. What I don't like about socialized healthcare is the fact that I don't get to choose my doctor. My primary care doctor at the VA, I can't stand the motherfucker, so I pay out of pocket and go see a primary care provider at Planned Parenthood. Now, the VA and socialized healthcare, you don't pick your specialist, you don't pick your doctor. It's assigned to you
Nope.
by your area.
Yep.
Right.
You live here, this is your doctor. Now, if he has 5,000 appointments, guess what? You're waiting until he's done with those people that called ahead of you. Socialized healthcare can be a thing, but it needs to be looked at in a different way. We have private hospitals for a reason. What we need to take a look at is reforming and regulating the fact that you pay for an insurance company, and since the hospital, which is a private for-profit system, knows that you're not paying out of pocket because you're broke or whatever, but the insurance you have is paying for it. They don't have to have any transparency on their pricing. So like a fucking bag of clarified salt water can be charged this $2,000, and that's asinine. Salt water is not worth that much. I don't care how much sterilization you've done. It's not $2,000. Now, if we took the system that we have now, regulated pricing, so just like shopping around at, furniture, right? If you find a couch that you like, but you find the same couch you like, but somebody else is offering it cheaper for the same thing, why don't hospitals have transparency so you can choose your insurance and then have your insurance pay through? And, insurance is exorbitant, but when you look at it, you're getting a good deal for what you're getting. Now, how much better of a deal if insurance had to go look at transparent hospitals pricing and you shopped around and made that choice, and now your bill or your 30% or 20% or 40% of whatever you pay is that much lower because hospitals had to be transparent about the charges they are or the prices they are charging. That would be a better thing. And you could socialize that too.
I
with
don't
single health.
think anyone has a strong opinion about what their insurance is. Most people in the United States just want to be able to go to the hospital and get care without going broke.
No, but if you have insurance or single payer, like if you want to choose to have insurance to have a different healthcare provider, one that's not assigned to you or whatever, cool, that's your choice.
But that's
say
like
you
such
have-
an inefficient use of money and resources.
But at the same time, I don't
Why-
want
why
the-
do you- why
I
do
don't
you
want our
want the-
government. If you have
Why do you want government to control your fucking health?
Hold on.
I actually
if you have
don't-
single payer,
I actually
If you
don't
have
want them
single-
to control my health. I would actually just like to be able to go to the doctor without worrying about going bankrupt.
But how much money would we save if we got the hospitals to put the pricing in check, and then the government bill? Because right now, if we socialize healthcare and they're still charging these prices, now the government's having to pay that prices to the hospitals, right? Now, if we get the hospitals to become transparent with their pricing and get them to drop their price and not be dicks about it and regulate what you can charge, because like, I consider hospital care to be price gouging. To be honest, you're in a time of need, you're in a time of sickness, a time of like severe health that you're going to a hospital. That's price gouging.
Well,
And
so
if they were more transparent with how they charged, the government can put them in check, bring them down, and then if you want to bring in that social payer safety or that single payer safety net, everybody has it, but you're not required to use it or charge the fine on your taxes. That would be much better. But we need to start a transparency with the hospitals before we do anything.
So I agree with a lot of what you're saying, by the way.
I know.
The
I'm
issue
right.
And pharmacies.
Fucking capitalism for the win. Price shopping.
Well, no, the issue is we have, as a nation, much more bargaining power than like individuals. So we if we decommodify healthcare, we can have our country, like the United States of America, greatest nation in the world. We can have
That's Kazakhstan.
we can have the United States negotiate things like drug prices and things like medical care and the cost of like surgeries or whatever.
You do realize Trump just did that, right?
Well, right.
Medical price, the prescription drug prices have dropped tremendously.
But we can do it much more efficiently and effectively if we have control over the main insurance system in the United States rather than it being distributed across 10, 12 different companies who play a shell game every year and who collectively all slowly raise their prices, choking out everyone in the country very slowly but surely.
Good. Now, Redneck, on your thing, cool. Prescriptions are just like a simple, tiny part of the problem. A lot of times procedures, staying in a hospital bed is like $2,000 a night.
Of course, because they charge way too fucking much. I got that.
So yeah, cool. Prescriptions are just like cool. He's done 2 positive things in his entire 4 years, from what I can see, in my opinion. And I know my opinion on that's not right because I don't fucking suck the dude's dick on a fucking daily. But like from what I've seen, he's done 2 things right. And
I also haven't seen my drug prices drop at all.
Well, don't forget about our VA choices and stuff as I actually come through. That he did for us.
Well, the taxpayers are still paying for my hormone therapy, so I don't give a fuck.
But like
thanks
part of
taxpayers for my tits that are coming in 6 months. So
part of
just want to say I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Part of the issue is that also I think that there is this concern that if we had this decommodified healthcare system, like the government would tell you which doctor you need to go to. I don't think that that's necessarily something we would have to worry about if the entire system was decommodified.
No, that's how it works.
That's how
it works. That's how it works.
And that's how it works. This is so I'm a part
I tell you
of
what, here, I got the answer for all of this.
Okay, but
why don't
it
we
doesn't
just get the
have
same
to be
health care
socialized that way. It doesn't
Why
have
don't we
to
get
be
the same
operated
health
like it's the
care
VA.
that? Why don't we get the same health care that our Congress and senators get?
I agree.
It's pretty
Okay.
much.
Can I actually agree with you for once, Redneck?
Yeah, and
That's all we need.
I think I 100% agree with you. Everyone should get
And they
that.
have an HMO PPO type of program. And they get a.
I think Redneck. I think you and I just agreed on decommodified healthcare. Putting everyone on that same plan. I'm for it.
Then you got my vote because that's what I've been preaching forever.
Making senators go to Mexico to get dental care just like we do. Make it all encompassing and stop doing this whole vision is separate from healthcare
and they have to do
dental
it on
is separate.
foot. They have to do it on foot. They can't pay for it.
They have to learn how to run, jump, and swim just like everybody else that crossed the border.
Where's this conversation going?
Redneck, I think
down the toilet.
I think you and I might be you might be a secret socialist ally, my friend.
Yes.
I have a lot of social tendencies.
Hell yeah.
So Jack, let me explain. So you're the far left of what he is. He is a nationalist. He has no problem with authoritarian national government running his healthcare as long as they do it fucking right.
I want us all to have the same. If we're going to have the same thing, all I'm saying is if they're going to run it, I want it the same that the government has.
Choice. But if I want to see
I want choice too, but the current congressmen and senators have choice.
For the fact she has nice tits and a massive dick, I want to be able to choose that doctor flat out. Just so I have something to gawk at while they're stabbing me with needles.
By the way, when I talk about decommodification, I'm also not talking about decommodifying things like luxury goods. You could still go to a store and buy Pop-Tarts, for example. But
She says
not...
as she streams from her gaming computer and her nice microphone and her
Exactly.
Wonder Woman outfit on a $300 gaming chair
Exactly.
like a dick.
You can work at a worker co-op for excess income, so you can buy luxury goods. I
would like
that's
to point
totally
out that
fine.
the millionaire or the other millionaire in the panel is streaming from a fucking potato with a camera made by Nokia in 1996 with a hairline that he could pay to fix 10 times over and teeth that he hasn't paid to fix with the worst backdrop I've ever seen since McGrady.
Oh.
Don't care.
Don't worry, I'll Venmo you some burn cream money since you're too frugal for it. You leech.
Fuck you, Samantha.
All right, where was this going? Did this actually have a point?
Oh,
yes, we're all going to take turns shitting on Tygar.
I was just talking about decommodification. I think I made all my points basically. I'm for decommodifying things that are like necessary to live, and that everything else is luxury goods. I think the market can sort those out, provided we're in a worker co-op system.